Good evening. Tonight's story is called My Wife is Lurking in My Childhood Photos, but I Met Her at the Age of 30. Let's begin. As she looks no younger in the old pictures, sometimes it feels as if my life has been nothing but an ever revolving door of grief. I'm only 34 years old, and I've lost everyone to death, rejection, or diverging paths. My parents, my sister, my childhood friends, and countless other loved ones. I feel numb, directionless. Above all else, I feel angry. I hate the world for taking them from me. I hate life for dealing cards from a rotten deck. My mother passed last year. She'd been fighting a lengthy battle with dementia since 2019. I didn't cry when she died. I had nothing left in the tank. I'd already endured small, painful pinches of grief over the years. I grieved whenever she lost a piece of herself. I grieved for every one of us that she forgot, whilst there were still those of us left to forget. Those 4 years fragmented me. Mum and I were so close, and it broke my heart to see her very soul disintegrate. She was my only remaining family. My dad and my sister died when I was young, and slowly everyone else vanished too. I can't explain it, but in spite of her deterioration, I think Mom held on to life for me. I worry, Brennan, my mother hazily said. You're safe, Mom, I said. You don't need to. No, I worry about Brennan, she interjected with a fluster. I'm Brennan, Mom, and I'm fine, I said, sighing. I worry, she absent-mindedly whispered. When my mother died in February 2023, I was left with one person in the entire world, Olivia. I counted my blessings to have a darling wife who would always be by my side, until I realized how terribly true that might be. While I was cleaning out my mother's attic, I found a box of photo albums, dust-coated antiques that I've never seen before. Too many painful memories, perhaps, but a tinge of warmth spread through my body as I eagerly flicked through the pages. A fuzzy, forgotten feeling. I remembered being happy as a child. I was surrounded by family and friends. I lovingly tore through the pages, and I was moments away from shouting for my wife to come up to the attic, but then I noticed something bizarre. Olivia was standing in the back of a photo. It was a picture of a day at the zoo, with my parents and my sister. Through metal bars at the opposite side of the lion enclosure, I could see my wife standing there, someone I didn't know as a child, but it was her. There was no doubt about that. Distinctive black hair, fair complexion, and petite physique, she wore a thin, knowing smile that seemed unbefitting of her, or any version of Olivia that I'd seen before. My stomach gurgled nervously, but I smiled and laughed it off. Uncanny, I whispered to myself. Obviously, it couldn't have been her. I told myself we were around the same age. She would have been a child at the time. It just has to be a doppelganger. I carried on flicking through the pages, and then a lump formed at the surface of my throat. My wife appeared again. This time, it was a photo of her family's Christmas gathering in a restaurant, and outside the window, beneath a smoking shelter, a solitary figure stood and watched us. It was Olivia, or a woman who yet again looked identical to my 33-year-old wife. Once is nothing, twice is a coincidence, I muttered uncertainly. I frantically tore through the photo album as sweat collected in my thick, icy trails on my colorless cheeks. Olivia was in every photo and looked no different from the present day. The same woman, always lurking somewhere in the background, discreetly watching, ever wearing that foul grin. My heart thumped fitfully. This was no longer an oddity, a funny peculiarity. It was unsettling enough to see evidence of a person stalking my family, but a person who hadn't aged in 33 years? It was sinister. It defied everything my logical brain knew to be true. I found myself trembling in terror and clawing at my hair. I'd stopped turning pages. After seeing my wife skulking in dozens of pictures, I hadn't the stomach to continue, but I couldn't tear my eyes off the page before me. It was a photo captioned, "Yummy cake, Brendan's 10th birthday party." I was sitting in the back garden on an overcast day. A decadent chocolate cake sat on my lap. A jubilant friends and family surrounded me. I was midway through blowing out 10 candles, and the flame leaned away from my pursed lips. There she was again, hiding in a photo from the year 2000. Olivia would have been 10 years old, just like me, and yet the camera told another tale. This time, my fully grown wife cowered behind the short fence at the rear of our property, but the top of her head peered into our garden, and I could distinguish her distinctive black hair. Her eyes were bloodshot and thirsty. She was perhaps most hauntingly eyeing the camera. It felt as if she could see me in the attic. "You're losing your mind, Brendan," I thought, eyes still unable to look away. "This isn't real. It's all in your—" A sudden wisp of wind extinguished the attic light. My body shivered uncontrollably, and I found myself wrestling with an undeniable thought. It sounded like lips blowing air. Trying to steady my breathing, I anxiously patted the floor of the blackened attic. I wish I wouldn't have left my phone in stupid places, I thought. I wanted to leave, but I didn't trust myself to maneuver through my mother's cluttered attic in the dark. Then my fingers brushed over a familiar smooth surface. "Gotcha," I thought, before picking up my phone and turning on the flashlight. I screamed. The birthday photo had changed. The candles on the cake were gone, and I was sitting all alone. No family, no friends, nobody, not even Olivia. I stumbled to my feet and dropped the book. The floorboards moaned as I shifted my weight backwards. I had to get far from that cursed book, that cursed attic. I twisted to run for the attic door, but I didn't move beyond that first step. My torchlight illuminated something horrifying. Poking her head through the attic opening, Olivia smiled at me. Her eyes mirrored those in numerous photographs I had just seen. Her pupils seemed darker, wider. Red veins painted the corners of her eyes, and her eyes ripped ever so slightly, as if they were not really eyes at all. I don't know what happened to the woman I married, but that wasn't who eyed me from the attic door. She was a horror, some rabid mouse that had silently slithered up the stairs and the ladder. My wife giggled. "I'll eat you from the inside out." And then the woman plummeted through the attic door, disappearing from the sight. Thinking of only escaping, I lunged for the open door, but something seized my ankle, chaining me to the attic. I spun to face my shackle, and my mouth parted in wordless terror. From the open page of the photo album, Olivia's twisted arm and face had emerged. She offered a toothy grin and unhinged eyes as she attempted to pull me into the picture. "Vile bile, so rich, and with our consummation it becomes complete." I cried in agony as if I was dragged to hell by the thing that I had loved for 3 years, a hellish demon I had believed to be my wife, but it seemed I truly had nobody left. Nothing but a cancerous tumor clinging to my very essence. It was draining the last of my pain, the last of my suffering. I closed my eyes and thought of my loved ones, the loved ones I was certain I would shortly see again. As the terrifying demonic limb pulled my leg into the photo album, I prepared to meet whatever fate awaited. All of that anger, the years spent in perpetual psychological nightmare for nothing. I visualized my mother's smiling face, and a calmness swept through my mind. "I worry about Brennan," she said. I started to fib before deciding to unburden the weight off my chest. "No, I'm not fine, Mom, but I will be." Suddenly, the hissing ceased. All sound ceased, and when I opened my eyes, my wretched wife was gone. My ankle was no longer merging with the laminated plastic, but it throbbed painfully. The bottom of my trouser leg bore claw-shaped tears, and it was stained with fresh blood. To be certain the entity had vanished, I cast my phone light onto the book, and the picture of my 10th birthday party had returned to normal. I wasn't alone. I was surrounded by friends and family. Nothing could destroy that memory in my mind, but I shuddered as I turned the pages of the book. My smiling wife was still lurking in the photographs. I fled the house, and I haven't looked back. It's been a year, and I don't fear the memories anymore. I'm moving forwards. I'm learning to love again. I'm learning to open myself to new people and new memories, but I still fear loss. After all, that horrifying woman waits for me. I know she does. I fear the day that I notice her in a new photo. And that's the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay spooky.